On this edition of Around BCC, still looking for a course this spring? We have some options. Our BCC alum has come back to the kitchen, and we look at the Bristol Bees basketball squads. Happy New Year and welcome to Around BCC. I'm Keith Tebow. Bristol Community College is currently in its intercession between the fall and spring semesters, with the spring 2012 semester slated to start later on this month. It's also an opportunity for students to fill out their schedules, as many students haven't done so before the spring semester. What we thought we'd do to begin the show is talk about some courses here at the BCC campus which may not be necessarily connected to the college, and some out-of-the-box courses as well that students may be interested in as they finish registering for the spring 2012 semester. We have 4 guests with us to start the show. To my immediate left is Deborah Dennis. She's an adjunct instructor of dance. To her left is Bill Kennedy. He's an adjunct instructor of business administration, focusing on real estate. And our final 2 guests are Dana Mayu and Beth Whitehead. Dana is an associate professor of sociology, and Beth is an adjunct instructor in reading. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Deb, let me start with you. You teach dance here on campus, which is part of the arts here on campus. People may not know much about dance. How long have you been teaching dance here, and what are the dance courses in general?
I've been teaching dance here for 3 years, and I taught before in the 90s, so I had a break in between. And the course is a fine arts credit. It qualifies as a fine arts credit. A lot of the theater students take it. A lot of people who have had dance training in their background, they just want to continue their dance training in college, they take it. Also beginners take it, people who just want to get a feeling for what's going on. They want to try something new. They've always wanted to learn to dance, so they try it.
So it's an elective, but it's not necessarily part of a program elective. Is that correct? Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Now, what type of dance do you teach? The official title is modern dance.
Yes.
What is modern dance these days? It seems to change every year,
It does change. It's pretty much everything. It's all movement, and I tell the students about how it was started in the 30s and 40s, and all of dance, contemporary dance now, I think, comes from modern dance. It's some of the radical experiments that the modern dancers created, and it's a new form that's always evolving. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot to it, and it's very expressive, creative. It comes from organic movement based on how the individual moves in their normal everyday life. We have some video of some of the class you held in the fall, last fall, mm-hmm. and there's a Modern Dance 1 and 2. Version 2 is going to be held in the spring. Is that correct? Yes.
What's the difference, I guess? Is more advanced?
A little more advanced, a continuation. The Modern Dance 2 ends with a studio performance. They just work on more complex dance phrases, some group work, improvisation.
Right. Do you have the opportunity at all to perform? I mean, for maybe the greater college community? Has that been done?
We haven't done it yet.
Okay.
I'd like to, organize some kind of studio performance at some point in the theater downstairs, the theater studio, which I think would be great. It would be a great experience for the students.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that just about any student can take the dance class. Do you try to gear it toward a student that's more in depth with say, the arts, or is it, do you also get people that just say, hey, I want to learn how to dance, or maybe they have a dance background and just want to hone their skills? I guess my question is, do you see a wide range of types of students coming in?
I do, and there's a lot of different types of students. Sometimes there's just raw beginners, mm-hmm. people who are majoring in, say, video game design, and they just want to try something totally different, and
that's totally different.
It's totally different, and they just they get a different idea of how things move in space and mm-hmm. In dimension, and so it relates to all different levels of experience, I think. I'm also getting some hip-hop dancers now that are just from the streets, and they dance all the time, and they're, you know, hip-hop is their thing. They want to see what modern dance is, so.
How does the program evolve? Like we said at the beginning, it seems to change. What is modern dance? I mean, it's very interpretive. How do you change the courses to make them relevant?
The thing with modern dance that I think is very interesting is it is always changing and evolving. And the thing that the dancers did when they first started it was they were trying to break away from ballet and the constriction of ballet, so they did a lot of things that were really kind of exciting and unusual, like they touched the floor. That was like a big radical move, and a lot of the dancers nowadays, they're shocked that came from modern dance. Without modern dance, that wouldn't be happening in dance. And the sense of movement being sculptural and potentially angular, and, you know, even ugly movement or pedestrian movement, just common everyday movement. So there's a lot of theory behind it.
Well, the course offered in the spring is Modern Dance Techniques 2. So if you're interested in that, you can seek out Deb and get involved. Let's move to Bill Kenny now. Bill, you teach real estate courses on campus, and real estate market is not where it was even 5-10 years ago.
Tell me about it.
Talk a little bit about the courses that you teach,
Sure.
and how is it relevant maybe now for students to still be interested in real estate?
Students should always be interested in real estate. Real estate as an asset is the single largest category of asset wealth owned by people in the United States. It's a very big deal. And whether you're interested in becoming a professional in the real estate field, perhaps as a realtor, a real estate attorney, perhaps as a lender or mortgage lender or a banker, these two courses are just really ideal to get you targeted and pointed in that direction. We have Business 175, Introduction to Real Estate, and the follow-up course, Business 176, Real Estate Practice. And both of those take you from the very basic economic realities of the real estate market through the secondary mortgage market, how mortgages are bought and sold, how real estate closings are handled, how value is determined in real estate, the appraisal techniques that are used, just about everything that you can imagine about the real estate profession. And for students that are not interested in becoming real estate professionals, someday they might rent a property, someday they might own a property. And there's a lot in both of these courses that would be of interest to them. And even beyond that, just from a matter of current events and recent history, the real estate market drives the economy. The real estate market is at the core of the problems that we have now with the economy, not only in the United States, but globally. So this is very timely information and you know, of interest to folks in that regard too.
Now, how much of that history do you bring into these courses? Obviously, you know, the housing, you know, bubble which burst, you know, 3-4 years ago now is obviously very relevant. Do you bring that into some of this discussion?
Yeah, we do. You know, and the interesting thing is this history is still being made every day.
Correct.
And so it's difficult to draw a lot of conclusions. We can identify trends. We can help people to try and understand why the bubble burst, why the economy had its meltdown. And, you know, that's a significant part of what both of these courses talk about. But also, not just at that end, but also at the very nitty-gritty, what is a deed, what is a mortgage, why are they bought and sold, how does the market work for secondary market mortgage transactions, all of those very practical aspects, as well as the historical and more theoretical and more debatable issues about what went wrong recently. All of that's involved.
Now, these courses, are they, they're listed under business administration, they're electives, but can anyone, like Deb's dance class, can anyone take these courses?
We would be delighted to have the dancers join us.
There we go. Dance in your new home.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Dancing in your new property.
Of interest to just about anybody who's concerned about, you know, what's going on politically and economically in the country these days.
And both of these courses, Introduction to Real Estate and Real Estate Practice, they're both being offered this spring. So again, if you have any interest, you can take one of those courses. It looks like the 176 actually needs the introduction as a prerequisite.
Yes, they
Is that the
recommend
case?
that. That's, I think it's prerequisite or a permission from the chairman of the department.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're better off taking the introduction first if you haven't. But if you have, even if it was a year ago, you could take that second course
Sure.
in the spring and
Sure.
go forward from there.
The only thing I would add is I've been a real estate attorney for 30 years. And we've seen the market go up and we've seen the market go down. The roller coaster ride has been my life. And so we have, I have a lot of experience to bring to the table for this, and welcome all the interested students to partake of my experiences and tell them what kind of a ride it's been.
Good, the bad, and the ugly,
The
right?
good, the bad, and the ugly, yes.
Well, Bill, thank you. I appreciate
Thanks
it. Good
for
luck
having
getting
me.
those courses.
Thank you.
Now, I'm really excited about this final course we're gonna discuss. It's what's called a learning community course, and a learning community course is when two courses sort of work together under a same theme. And Dana Mayu, as I said, is an associate professor of sociology. Beth Whitehead is an adjunct reading instructor, and they're going to be teaching a learning community course that's entitled jointly Reading and the Sociology of Seinfeld. Yes, that Seinfeld that you may know from the 90s. Dana, let me ask you, how did this course come about, and why Seinfeld?
Well, initially we had been running the learning community for a number of years prior to adopting the Seinfeld theme. And it was working pretty well for us. We saw a good deal of success between my students becoming more successful, greater retention rates, students successfully completing their reading requirements. So we had had a good measure of success anyway. We kind of both found a common interest in the series Seinfeld between Beth and myself over the years, and joked about it quite a bit, and eventually slowly started working some of the episodes into our courses, and then last year just decided, hey, let's make a theme out of it and kind of really bring it in and make it part of the curriculum. So
now people should know that these are actually two courses. They're two distinct courses, two 3-credit courses. The reading is Reading 90, 090, and sociology, what's the number?
101.
101. So it's basic courses in each of those disciplines, but with the theme of sociology sort of tying it together. Beth, let me ask you, will something like this, you hope, make it easier for students to learn concepts of reading that you teach in your class because it's something that people may relate to, watching Seinfeld over the years? Definitely.
And when students are placed in a reading class, sometimes they're kind of feeling very insulted by it. They take a test and they get placed in a reading class. And I mean, one of the points we try to make is that nobody's saying you can't read. Obviously, students wouldn't have gotten to this level if they couldn't read. But what we do is we look at some higher level skills, things like inferences and detecting author's purpose and things like that. And we find that showing the Seinfeld episodes really allows some of that critical thinking in a fun way. And also in my reading class, I use the vocabulary that I use is all terms from the sociology class, so students become very familiar with it, and they sort of see the practical application of having these higher level reading skills, because in real time they're doing better in Dana's course because of that emphasis.
I'm just thinking about the sociological discussions that can be had over the characters on that show. How do you work that in, Dana, in terms of the specific personalities that were on that show, and how you tie it into some basic sociological discussions that are held in a normal Sociology 101?
Basically, I mean, several of the episodes that we utilize have a basic theme that runs through the episode, and we found that those themes correlate really nicely with certain chapter or segment areas within the sociology class. So, for example, just today, the last day of class, we used the cigar store Indian episode, which had a lot to do with race and ethnicity, which was the topic that I was covering at the time. And they're all different themes that fit really nicely into chapter areas and allow you to kind of expand on it in a different, and as Beth said, kind of fun and entertaining way, although it still is scholarly, so we need to keep the focus on that, of course. But
well, I want to thank you all for joining us, and these are just a sample of some of the offerings this spring and all year round at Bristol Community College. Some of those offerings that, again, you may not associate with BCC, but are there for students to take. And if you have any questions about these courses or any of the other offerings during this spring 2012 semester. You can visit, of course, the BCC website and also visit the various BCC campuses. Again, thank you all for joining us. I appreciate it, and have a great spring semester.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more of Around BCC right after this.
Hello, my name is Wayne Wood, Director of Public Safety here at Bristol Community College. Bristol Community College's Fall Rivers campus shares Ellsbury Street with two area high schools, Bishop Connolly High School and BMC Durfee High School. If the college is closed due to weather or for some other reason, it is likely both high schools are going to close at the same time. With approximately 300 students leaving Bishop Connolly and over 2,000 students leaving Durfee, our students and staff often find it very difficult to get off campus. We put together this video to give you alternative ways to leave campus without getting caught in traffic jams, especially at the intersection of President Avenue and Ellsbury Street. We want you to arrive at your destination with minimum delays, but most of all, to arrive safely. The majority of our students and staff only know one way to get home from here, and that is to take a left out of the campus onto Ellsbury Street. As an alternative, take a right onto Ellsbury Street. At the end of Ellsbury, you'll bear left, which will put you on Valentine Street. At the third stop sign, you will intersect with Robeson Street. Anyone living in Fall River can take any direction from Robeson Street to reach their primary destination. If New Bedford, Providence, Taunton, or Newport is your desired destination, then take a right onto Robeson Street and head north. Robeson Street will turn into Highland Avenue. At the end of Highland Avenue is a set of lights. This is the intersection of Highland Avenue and Wilson Road. Continue straight through this intersection and the road merges onto Route 24 North. If Taunton or Points North is your destination, just continue north on Route 24. For those of you heading to Providence or New Bedford area, you will want to head south on Route 24. To do this, take your first exit off Route 24 North, which is exit 8 Airport Road. Take a left at the lights and follow the road to the Rotary. Take your first right off the Rotary, which puts you onto 24 South. Route 24 South will bring you to Interstate 195 east or west. East will take you to the New Bedford area, and west will take you to the Providence area. Will you please do me a favor? Someday on a good day or when you have time, try taking this alternate route and see for yourself that you do have options when you leave our campus. Thank you very much, and remember, your goal is to arrive home safely.
Welcome back. Our alumni this month received formal culinary arts training here at BCC and now shares those skills with current students.
Hi, I'm Dan Benoit, BCC graduate, class of 2004. I grew up in New Bedford, just down the road, and my interest, growing up, I played football. When I realized that I wasn't going to get any taller than 5'11", and my prospects of playing any professional football were pretty much out the window. I did play 1 year in college, but that was about it, and the fun had ended and it was time to move on. I started college at Central Connecticut State University in New Britain, Connecticut. Started studying athletic training, and as I got through the courses I realized kind of it wasn't really what I was interested in, that it was just something that I thought I might like to explore, but it wasn't what I wanted to do long term. After I left Central Connecticut, I started working in the restaurant field and eventually ended up back home in New Bedford, and realized that just working on a line in a kitchen or working working without a degree wasn't really what I wanted to do. I knew that in order to get further in life I needed to go back and get a degree. So I actually started part-time with just general education classes in probably 2000, and then switched to the culinary program in 2001. As I started working, I realized that I wanted to pursue a career in cooking in restaurants. I got my certificate in culinary here, and then I came back. I finished a certificate in 2000 or 2001. Took a year off and then came back to do business, because I knew that beyond just cooking and knowing the culinary arts aspect, that if I wanted to own a restaurant or run a restaurant, I should have a business background. So I came back and got my associates in business here too. After I graduated with my degree in business, I got a job in the mortgage field, selling mortgages. And it was a time when the mortgage field was very populated by a lot of different companies because refinancing was so easy. So a couple months into it was when things started to fall apart. I was working for a company that was owned by AmeriQuest, and that was just when the AmeriQuest problems were starting. So through the process of the downfall of the business that I was working for, I ended up back cooking in a kitchen. And I kind of did a self-evaluation and said, well, I've got an associate's degree, but in order to do the next step, I need to get a bachelor's degree. So I'd had my first daughter, and my wife and I moved to Connecticut and following some jobs. And actually was working full-time and went back to school full-time to get my bachelor's. I graduated from Eastern Connecticut State University with my bachelor's degree in business. And as I graduated, May of 2008, it was a difficult time for the finance business. So I would go to an interview at a place like Merrill Lynch, and then the next week they'd be on the news as the bottom fell out, and a couple different banks that happened. And again, I was at the point of evaluating my life decisions and decided that the market would be slow for a couple of years, so I'd position myself better when the market started to turn around with an MBA. So at that time, I researched a couple different MBA programs, and there was actually one about 12 miles from my house at Nichols College in Webster, Massachusetts. So I finished my MBA in May of 2010, and was back out searching the job market. And after I graduated from here, I felt a debt of gratitude kind of to the university, to the college, that I had such a great experience here, and that I thought that it prepared me so well for my career outside, that I looked for an opportunity to give back. And it just so happened that at the time that I was exploring teaching or going into the field of teaching culinary arts, a full-time position had just opened here. So I applied then and heard shortly after, and within a couple months was interviewed and hired on in January of this year, 2011. I teach culinary arts courses in the culinary arts half of the program. The program is split into baking and pastry arts and culinary arts. So I teach pretty much baking for cooks, so the basic foundation of knowledge that a cook would need in a commercial kitchen. I also teach the sophomore culinary arts lab classes. So they're 6-hour labs through the day, and we go through different menus, and I teach different cooking techniques and methodologies. And there was definitely a learning curve, I think. Coming from the kitchen, things happen very quickly, and just because the economics of how a restaurant works and because of the way that the business works, you hire people with the expectation that they have this certain foundation of knowledge, and it happens that if they don't meet your expectations, they're quickly eliminated from your restaurant. Here we kind of have the inverse. We have people who have very little exposure, they're here to learn, and it actually took a little while for me to acclimate myself to teaching people a procedure rather than having the expectation that they already knew that. So that was one of the biggest challenges for me, was now taking people who had, for the most part, zero commercial kitchen experience, and teaching them the foundations and then building upon the foundations for what we'd expect in a restaurant setting. I love that aha moment where the kids or the students will not know a skill, and we can work and show them a different technique or a different way of thinking about things, and then all of a sudden they understand why we have to do this or how these things are done, or a skill that they didn't have a week ago and now they're working towards mastering. I'm married actually to a BCC alumni. We have 5 small children, all under the age of 7, and one actually just turned 1 yesterday. So we live in the northeast part of Connecticut, so it's a short drive, but for me the trade-off is worth it. This is a blue-collar school. You come here because you're from the area for the most part. You're looking for a solid foundation for your education, and here provides it. You have teachers who have worked in the field. You have people very knowledgeable in their field of expertise, and you get, for my dollar, or from my understanding, you get the value of a big university at a very small college. It's more familiar here for me, and even in the interview for the position, I told the person interviewing me, I wanted to teach here because the students that I teach are me. I grew up around here, I was a student here, I had some of the same goals and aspirations that the people that come here have. So for me, I was coming back to teach different versions of me.
Here's some other items making news around BCC. BCC's Multicultural Committee recently completed another slate of successful fall events. Committee Chairman Dan Gilbarg says there were 15 sessions of Multicultural Committee events featuring 5 speakers across the 3 BCC campus sites. In its second year of existence, Gilbarg says he's been encouraged by the amount of interest the speaker series has received from faculty and students.
I think one of the things we learned how crucial it was to find teachers that were willing to bring their classes. And so we do a lot of work prior to each event, recruiting teachers to come, not just sending out general publicity, but talking with them in department meetings, division meetings, and even getting on the phone. And so we're piecing together the people that will bring the students. And over and above that, we do general publicity, and one of the things that we started to do more, emphasize, is also to get people from the community to come, sending out press releases and getting articles in the local papers, because a lot of the topics are very interesting to people.
Immigration, Judaism, racial profiling, and economic inequality were some of the topics covered this fall. Gilbarg says there will be an equally diverse schedule planned for the spring semester. Now, in conjunction with the Multicultural Committee events, BCC will once again host a community breakfast commemorating the life of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to be held in Fall River on January 16th. The BCC men's and women's basketball teams are back on the hardwoods for their 4th intercollegiate season. Both squads face challenges with fresh faces on the court and off. Jenny Ozug begins her first season as women's head coach after spending last season as the team's assistant. She currently has a squad of only 6 players, which make practices and games challenging.
My expectation is that they give 110% every time, regardless of team, regardless of score. My expectations for the future, I would love to get a full squad as of next year, double-digit players. In terms of getting them motivated, I just try to emphasize the fact that not many people get the opportunity to play sports in college. Only, I think it's 2% of high school students go on to play at the college level. So I try to emphasize that, they're building a foundation for this program. They're in the foundation years, and they're doing something that, a lot of kids don't get the opportunity to do. And I try to share my personal experiences with them. I had a wonderful college basketball experience. Try to share that with them as much as possible, and hopefully that gets them, they come back, so that gets them excited, I guess.
Men's head coach Rob Delalue begins his 4th season at the helm of the Bees. He's had success over his first 3 seasons with a 60% winning percentage and respect across the region. But this year he has a squad made up of entirely first-year players who are still looking to mesh.
Some of them have experience with each other as knowing each other locally, but not on the same high school team. What I'm finding right now is a lot of the kids are coming in not really knowing much about the game. So it's a shell shock, it's a culture shock, it's different. A lot of high schools run, freelance type motions. I'm structured in what I want to do. So with it comes a lot of learning. And so a lot of it might be a lot of overload for them. It might be too much information. I try to, limit what I put their way early. But I don't want to, put too much emphasis on certain things, because I understand that they're young and we need to kind of focus a little bit more. And it's going to take, it's a road, it's a road that they have to take, and it's expected that it's a lot different for them.
As of this taping, the women enter the new year with a record of 1-9, while the men currently sit at 3-7. Both squads play their home games at Bishop Connolly High School, and they have schedules right up through the month of February. So if you do have the opportunity to see them play, please come by and support their efforts. That's all for Around BCC for this month. We leave you today with a look back at a performance by the Encore Dance Troupe featuring Cambodian dance routines held as part of the finale of the One Book Project at Fall River's campus in December. I'm Keith Tebow. Thanks for watching.